On today's show, we're going to hear from a friend who is impacting lives as they have pursued their dream. Join the City True Stories is a program that highlights people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often, we hear about the dysfunction and the problems in our culture. But we're coming from a different approach as we take a look at the good things going on right here in our community. I'm Lindsay Irvin, and you're about to see what God is doing in our city. We hear many people talk about their big dreams, but not everyone is willing to take the time and be disciplined to pursue and accomplish their dreams. Today we spend a few minutes with Sholly as he talks about his journey.
So the concept began from, I feel like it was the music scene, just like the punk rock style and stuff. I feel like there's a lot of cool hairstyles, but there was a guy who was the singer of a band that I like, and he ended up quitting music to become a barber, and I realized like it's really hard to get into the music industry. So if there's something that's like a cousin industry that I could kind of get into, where I could still have a huge influence like in music and stuff like that, and still have a lot of time to still play music and stuff, but like I could create like the look that went along with the industry and stuff. I really enjoy like a lot of the old school cuts and the pompadours and stuff like that you see on like a lot of like the old school like rock and roll guys and stuff like that. So I wanted something that was kind of like a cousin industry with the music industry, and I feel like tattooing, barbering, and music all kind of go hand in hand a little bit. So that's partially what drew me towards it. The whole thing started, it was, I believe, February of 2016. I was sitting with my wife, who was just my fiance at the time, I want to say, and we were just listing qualities that I wanted in a job, and barbering just kind of hit me, and I really felt like that's what God wanted me to do, especially because I had a couple other ideas of things that I was interested in doing, but barbering I actually pursued, so I knew that's what I was supposed to do. And so I just started doing haircuts out of my house, messing people's hair up because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I think it was like sometime within that week I called the barber school in Huntington and was like, hey, I want to come down and start barbering or whatever. And so my starting date then for school was June. And some things happened. I ended up being on unemployment the whole time through barber school, and that helped me with paying bills and stuff, because my wife worked, but it was just like a job at a daycare, and financially it was a really trying time. It was definitely not the easiest. So there was definitely times where I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, this is really tough, you know, and but we just kept trying to be faithful to what we felt like God's plan was and what his journey was that I felt like I was supposed to be on, and every single time he came through, and obviously, and it's led me to a place where I never thought I would enjoy getting up every morning and coming to do what I do for a living, and because I worked a couple other jobs that I just wasn't really happy with. And there's times now where like if I'm not at work, I'm watching haircut videos trying to get better and stuff like that, or like I'll tell Jenna, I'll be like, I miss work. I can't wait to go back. And so it's just cool to see what started as just an idea that I felt like I was supposed to do, doing haircuts in my mom's kitchen, and then ended up like having my own little setup in her basement, to now like I'm in a shop. I've been here for a few years, and I love what I do every single day. I've had to overcome like myself, I think is the biggest thing I've had to overcome, and just focusing on putting out a better haircut, focusing on giving more respect to my clients and not being so hard on myself to think, oh, well, I lack in this area, I lack in that area. Instead of doing that, just focusing on like, okay, well, I think this is a strong spot for me and I see improvement in this on my haircuts or whatever it may be. I think it's very necessary to know exactly what you want. I knew exactly, I knew that I wanted to be a barber and I knew the steps that I needed to take, roughly. I knew I needed to go to school, I knew I needed to find a shop to get into, I knew I needed to just always have the mindset of learning and never feeling like I will know it all, because in this industry, the minute you feel like you know everything, that's whenever you start to become irrelevant, and that's when you start to plateau and stuff like that. The best advice I could give to someone that's chasing after their dream is always keep your goal in the back of your mind, and always, like, never lose sight of what the end goal is, because knowing that I wanted to be a barber and knowing that I wanted to love what I did every day, that's what pushed me to get through not having the cleanest haircuts yet, or financial situations or anything like that. Just knowing that I would get to the point where I was doing what I loved and I was a licensed barber working in a shop, making people look good and feel good. You know what I mean? That's what really helped me get through it, was just knowing that no matter what, I'm going to get to my goal, because I know that it's what I'm supposed to do and it's what I want to do. I think a lot of what really motivated me to get where I am was just not being happy with what I was doing for a job. Like I said, I worked a couple different jobs, but I knew that there was always something out there that was greater for me, and that I needed to find that. And so for me, like I said, all I did was sit down with my wife and list what I liked about a job, or what I wanted in a job. So, and whether that was like a lenient schedule or not being on my feet all day, which I like being on my feet, I don't like sitting around, but I forget all the qualities that we listed, but I just knew that I needed to find something that fit the criteria of what I wanted in life. And as soon as I had an ounce of what I wanted to do, I just gripped it and trusted that that's what it was supposed to be. And I didn't care what steps. I didn't even really know what steps to take, because I didn't know there was a barber school in the area. You know, I just kind of researched and tried to find anywhere that would teach me how to cut hair, you know. So whether it's barbering or not, I think finding the criteria of what you want will eventually point you to where you need to be, as long as you are pursuing the aspects of life that you want. So what's next for me? I would love to have my own shop in Tyrone, in my own community, and give back to the people that I care about and the people that I live around and stuff. Also, just to keep getting better in what I'm doing, and to never settle for where I'm at. I always want to get better, and I always want to learn, whether that's actual cutting hair or styling or business or anything. I just want to make sure I always stay in the mindset of learning, and to never be too prideful to take advice from anybody. My faith really played an impact on what I'm doing, because I knew I wouldn't be happy until I was doing what God had laid out for me to do. And as soon as I felt like He kind of breathed that dream into me, I knew it was what I was supposed to do, because I just chased it and chased it and chased it. And like I said, there were some struggles, but just trusting that he would bring me to where I want to be, that's what really helped me cling to him and realize that I ain't gonna be able to do this by myself. You know, even my wife and I together couldn't do it ourselves, and I just trusted that God would bring me through anything that that we were struggling with, and bring me, obviously, because if it's God's dream for me, he's going to take me there, and I'm going to get there. You know what I mean? He's not going to tell me like, hey, you're supposed to cut hair and have your own shop, and then be like, you got to figure it out yourself. Like, you know, that's not him. So I know that whatever he tells me is going to happen is going to happen. I just have to stay focused and make sure that I'm pursuing that dream that he gave me.
For those of you who are in the early stages of your journey, we summarize 3 practical points in pursuing your dream. Number 1.
For me, like I said, all I did was sit down with my wife and list what I liked about a job or what I wanted in a job. So whether that was like a lenient schedule or not being on my feet all day, which I like being on my feet, I don't like sitting around, but I forget all the qualities that we listed, but I just knew that I needed to find something that fit the criteria of what I wanted in life.
Number 2.
Always keep your goal in the back of your mind, and always never lose sight of what the end goal is, because knowing that I wanted to be a barber and knowing that I wanted to love what I did every day, that's what pushed me to get through not having the cleanest haircuts yet, or financial situations or anything like that. Just knowing that I would get to the point where I was doing what I loved, and I was a licensed barber working in a shop, making people look good and feel good. You know what I mean? That's what really helped me get through it.
Number 3.
Just to keep getting better in what I'm doing, and to never settle for where I'm at. I always want to get better, and I always want to learn. The one thing I wanted to mention that I kind of touched on earlier with what made me want to get into barbering, as well as like the music scene and stuff like that, wanting to be in an industry similar to that, was that a haircut can change a lot about a person. And I know there's tons of people out there that hate who they are, and a lot of that might be because of their looks. And I wanted to be able to give someone something that would change how they feel about themselves, and help them to really realize that they're more than what they may think they are. And I try to live by the phrase, when you look good, you feel good, and when you feel good, you do good. So that's my goal with every client, is to make them look good and feel good, so that way they'll be able to do good when they leave the shop. That's one I tell people that all the time, and I knew there was something that I was forgetting to talk about. That's it. It's just when you spin that client around in the mirror, and they like their face lights up, and they're like, holy cow, like, I love this. Like, you know that they know they look good. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that changes a lot about them, cool, as far as how they view themselves. But
that's all the time we have today. Thank you for watching Joy in the City True Stories. Join us next week as we highlight another person or organization having an impact in our community. Be encouraged, because God is moving in our city. God is